Heartbroken after 3 years, I struggled with addiction and abuse. Despite trying to move on, my ex unblocked me and apologized. We tried again, but my past haunted us. After too many lies, he ended it. How can I heal and become better? My main question before providing context is, for those of you who promised to do better for someone and want something for the future, did it work out, and if so, how? He and I met in middle school but did not really know each other. We connected over social media and had many mutual friends. Once we reached our junior year of high school, right after the COVID-19 pandemic, we met and a relationship developed. We stayed together until our first year of college, hitting the 3-year mark before he ended the relationship for personal reasons. We did not speak for 3 months, and the way I handled the situation made it seem as if we would never communicate again. He struggled with addiction, which hurt me mentally, leading me to resort to physical self-harm. During those 3 months, I became involved with people who hurt me, plunging myself into a pit of self-pity. I was coerced into sexual activities through physical abuse from one man and manipulated by another. With the first man, we had sexual relations twice. With the second man, I developed feelings for him after he made me feel guilty about only having sex with his ex. When I pulled down his pants, I noticed a visible infection, and nothing happened afterward. I even engaged with OnlyFans related to my ex's addictions, believing that if I could earn more money than he had spent, I would be getting back at him indirectly. He mocked Twitch streamers, so I began streaming as well. However, I stopped attending school, did not work, and paused my life to do other things I thought might help me move on. In reality, nothing helped, and I did not improve at all. I became a worse person, selfish, a liar, and did whatever I felt like without any direction for my life. I missed him but also hated him. It was a confusing and sad experience. When streaming started to become successful, I felt like I was improving as a person, and others pointed out aspects of my behavior that made me a worse individual. I listened to their advice and thought I was making progress by addressing those minor issues. Out of nowhere, he unblocked me on all platforms and sent a lengthy apology while I was in the midst of my biggest stream ever. Deep down, I knew this would be one of the most important decisions I would need to make in 2024. This is December now, whether or not to accept his apology, acknowledge it, and determine where to go from there. I ended the conversation prematurely, yet it was also one of the toughest nights of December for me before he reached out. My rapist contacted me that morning as well, leading to a significant meltdown. That night, I contemplated ending my life after the stream and intended to give all of my remaining thoughts to my family. I felt lost and thought I deserved it. We talked for a while. Eventually, I shared that I believed I would have reacted better if he had asked to meet in a public place and apologized respectfully. As much as I despised him, he still held a special place in my heart. I would have engaged in terrible actions if it meant his well-being and family were secure. I realized I still loved him even while being with other guys. The mixed emotions generated constant anger at myself for wanting to seek revenge while longing to be with him. He suggested I come over so we could discuss everything, and that would be the end of it. We did not kiss, hug, or anything of that sort. We only talked and cried across his dining table. We discussed everything but not in detail. He had been in a relationship with a girl who had physically and mentally hurt him. I do not wish to disrespect his privacy. I went home after something he said triggered me, leaving me with only the energy to cry and yell at him for what he had done to me, for reaching out, and for everything else. I went driving and texted him, expressing a desire to try talking again. We agreed and said goodnight. The next evening, we conversed again and decided, why not try again? So we did. We agreed that if we wanted to know things about the people we were seeing, we needed to be open about it. He was, but I was not. I hated what I did, what others had done to me, and I loathed my appearance, my skin, my flesh, and my face. I felt as though I no longer looked like a girl and wanted to continue hurting myself. I did not disclose what the first man did to me until he showed up at my house, threatening to kill me, my family, and my pets. He had found my new social media account and insisted I had to talk to him. At that point, my ex and I had only been dating for 2 weeks, and he was asleep. It was 9 p.m., after a mentally exhausting day. I was unsure whether to wake him up, call the police, or what to do. That day had already been difficult for him, and I did not want to cause him more pain. I reached out to my closest friend, telling them to mute their microphone while I went outside to talk to him. My father was drinking, but simply watched from inside. My friend would have called the police if I had stopped tapping my phone from my pocket. There was a front gate separating me from the first man. He never touched me but attempted to reach for my dogs, and I told him to leave as soon as he arrived. He saw that I was with a new partner, and I do not know what prompted his behavior, but he was insane. Eventually, after he tried to convince me to leave my current relationship, I threatened to call the police because I had enough evidence to have him arrested, and I felt scared, especially given his physical demeanor. He left. I did not inform my ex until the following morning. He was furious with me and wanted to break up. I pleaded with him to believe me, asserting that nothing had happened between me and that man, and that I had 2 witnesses. It turned into hours of back and forth, with my ex begging me to tell him anything else I had kept hidden. I did not reveal that the first man had coerced me into sexual activity, nor did I disclose what the second man had done. I know that I am weak. Time passed, and he noticed that I had not blocked either of those men on social media. To be honest, it was due to fear. I did not want to be surprised in my own home again or feel threatened. I wanted to be aware of their every move to keep them as far away as possible. I wanted them to stay away. If there was an event they attended, I would avoid it. If they were in my city, I would remain at home, anxious for everyone and continually waiting. He was understandably upset and told me that I was not being faithful, that I was in contact with them, and that I was engaging in actions behind his back. I did not know how to explain this to him. Even now, I do not think he would understand. I told him it was out of fear of physical harm. I believed that if there was a chance for them to contact me through social media, I could handle it better than I had the first time, informing him immediately, and we could cope with it together. He did not believe me. He did not block the girl he was dating because she was his coworker, which made me extremely angry. This was another reason I did not block those men. I was enraged that he would not report her and what she had done to him, both at work and outside of it. The rage made me want to hurt myself, even though I could not understand why. The third mistake was that I did not tell him about the second man whom I had talked to in middle school. He was a mutual friend between my ex and me, the one who introduced us. He created a meme group chat in middle school from which my ex and I became aware of each other. It is embarrassing. The second man moved back to our area, and I confided in him, stating that I needed a friend to talk to, a companion who would understand the difficulties of my breakup. He emotionally took advantage of me, and I began to depend on him during rough times at home. I would visit his place, and we would watch shows and play games. I would observe him while he created music. Nothing more happened until he opened up about his ex-guilt tripping him into sex and mentioned wanting to explore oral sex with a girl he knows but hesitated because of his size. I am unsure why I continued to listen or stay. I just felt sorry for him. I was high and contemplated reaching out to my ex before he actually reached out. I simply craved closeness and did not want to be alone. I recognized what was occurring, even telling myself, "He is trying to lead you into this." But I was so high that I could not muster the energy to leave. He pulled down his pants, and I immediately gagged from the odor and then saw scabs, pus, a visible infection. I am unclear how that happens, but I felt nauseous. The adrenaline surged and I left immediately. He attempted to apologize, brought me flowers, and accidentally said, "I love you." I blocked his number, gave the flowers to a girl on a scooter while walking home, and showered 3 times in a row, drying off before jumping back in each time. I felt utterly filthy. The man approached mutual friends and spread false claims about us being involved romantically, making derogatory remarks about me. I only learned about that recently. Before cutting him from my life, I simply agreed with the negative things people said about me because I felt like I was in a boy who cried wolf scenario. Who would believe a girl who was raped and had been foolish while under the influence of drugs, but was somehow sober enough to drive? I understood that it would hurt me and anyone I wanted to confide in. I recognized it was the worst decision to make, but I was depressed and made a mistake. Returning to my situation, my ex went through my phone and discovered everything. My acceptance of the accusations, my dishonesty about his size. The man had looked through my phone while I was high. I did not realize it then. He asked for my password one day while I was high. I lost track of my surroundings, and he had access to my phone. This occurred repeatedly. My ex saw everything and told me to leave his house, calling me a whore and claiming that I manipulated him and was the worst person on earth. We broke up for a week but reconciled after I explained everything. I now recognize that I was taken advantage of. The only way to improve is to be honest. Since then, he has struggled with me, exhibiting hot and cold behavior every few hours, expressing hatred one moment, then saying we will get married while we drink and have fun, only for one of us to have a breakdown when the other falls asleep. He broke up with me on a Monday due to all of this. It was too overwhelming for him, and I regret lying. He pleaded with me to tell the truth whenever he found something more, and I repeatedly caused him pain through my lies. When he accessed my phone, he uncovered everything. It was incredibly embarrassing, revealing details that I had cut myself over. I realize now how immature my actions were. I could have told him everything before we began dating, allowing me to be mentally and physically available for him throughout the relationship. But I made mistakes. I did not disclose that I was a worse individual during those months and that I was not ready for a relationship. I was selfish. When I saw him, I immediately desired to be in a relationship, wanting things that could not manifest without confronting my past. That weekend, we drank and discussed marriage, cried over the cuteness of wombats and marmots, and tried new drinks. It felt wonderful. However, the next morning, he asked me to go home because he was beginning to feel unwell. Then he broke up with me the following day. During the hour of our breakup, he repeated things I had already heard. That I lied, that I should have told him I was not ready, that I had not grown or become a better person during those 3 months, and that he wished we could have been the relationship he dreamed of having. I inquired if his feelings about marriage had changed, and he responded affirmatively. Even after all the brutal and equally damaging things he had done to me, I still wanted to marry him when we first broke up after high school. Even while spending time with those two men, I held on to the desire to marry my ex and no one else. I felt no romance toward either of those men and knew they were aware of it. I told him those feelings did not fade, and then I returned home. We had our final discussion over text. I apologized, as I had done every time he became upset, but I reiterated my apologies like a broken record. I then asked about marriage again, questioning what would happen if I reached out in the future. He stated he did not know, but confirmed that while his feelings about marriage had remained unchanged, his willingness to continue our relationship presently had changed. I know this was lengthy. This has been my life for the past 6 months, 3 months without my ex, and then nearly 3 months together in which I repeatedly messed up. I have struggled with my sexual history, my addiction to self-harm, and my codependency since being raped in middle school. I understand that this will be a lifelong challenge. However, I also acknowledge that it is solely my problem. I need to improve. I need to become a better person and cannot allow it to control me any longer. To those who have experienced similar situations, where you instinctively feel that you want to be with one individual and have the conviction that they are the right person, what actions did you take to improve? How long until you reunited? Did you regret working on yourself while they remained on your mind, serving as your goal? What insights can you share regarding everything in this post, whether harsh, crude, rude, or cruel? What suggestions can you provide for me to improve from an unbiased perspective? Story 2. Thieving manager tries to frame me for their theft. It doesn't go well for them. I have been a long-time reader of this subreddit, but have never posted this story because every time I have considered it, I have been busy or on my mobile phone. It is quite a lengthy story, so I always postponed it, but I finally have the time now. Here is the detailed story at the bottom. Parties involved. Party name used store manager, Mo thieving assistant manager, J lead assistant manager. Best friends with store manager, Travis. This story took place approximately 6 years ago when I worked for a retail company I will refer to as No Op. Jay was widely recognized among the basic staff and some of the lower-level management as a thief. Unfortunately, she was highly favored by Mo and Travis, and we never had any concrete evidence against her. We also did not experience pay deductions unless it exceeded a certain amount, which it never did. So the staff lacked genuine motivation to seek proof. One of Jay's preferred items to steal was discount vouchers for products or shopping because the protocol required them to be ripped up and placed in the safe. There was no formal method for counting these vouchers to return them to the company, allowing her to utilize them again at a different store and evade detection. On this particular day, which was Halloween, I was assigned to register for the only register without cameras. Mo approached me and paid for her shopping using some gift vouchers she had received during a store manager's meeting due to the store's strong performance. I attended to her, and no one else accessed my register throughout the day since I was the primary person operating the registers during this shift. We closed for the night, and Jay took the cash registers to be counted. I went out with friends to a pub and enjoyed a pleasant evening, unaware of the events that were about to unfold. On my next shift, Mo summoned me into the office and informed me that the vouchers she had used were missing from the safe and that she recognized they were from my register. She requested that I return the vouchers and assured me she would not press charges or place anything on my record if I returned them immediately. Naturally, I did not have them and stated as much, yet she did not believe me. I searched everywhere: the bin under Register 4, the outdoor bins beneath the registers, and on the floors around the registers just in case I had accidentally dropped them or misplaced them while handling cash. Approximately an hour later, Jay walked in, overheard the situation, and offered to help search as well. She claimed to have found them in less than 30 seconds in a location I had already checked. I practically hissed, expressing my frustration that it was quite the coincidence that as soon as Jay looked there, she found the vouchers so quickly. I was seething with rage as I knew she was framing me for her own theft. She could have found them in the office and made it seem like a minor mistake, but instead, she decided to make me the scapegoat for her own wrongdoing. I tried to plead my case to Mo and Travis, arguing that I would not be foolish enough to steal vouchers I knew belonged to Mo, having been the one to serve her. One of the other team leaders, Paul, was aware of the truth and attempted to inform Mo and Travis that I was being set up, but she was the favored one and could do no wrong, while my reputation was tarnished in their eyes. They believed Jay had caught me in the act. This ignited a personal conflict. Over the following months, I developed a friendly rapport with Jay, flirting excessively with her and pretending to genuinely respect her as if we were close friends. It took some time to gain her trust, but once I had it, I knew I could catch her stealing and have proof. We disposed of a large quantity of Christmas chocolate products that had not sold, and I placed them in a bag designated for the trash. Jay suggested we take them home, which was against company policy and considered theft, because they would otherwise go to waste. We stood beneath a camera, just outside its field of view, so I stated that I did not want any. However, if she wanted them, she could place them on a trolley just within the camera's view. I had meticulously studied the camera angles in preparation for this moment. I noticed her glancing at the camera, then at the trolley, and back to the camera before she walked off to gather her belongings. I warned my colleagues not to accept any chocolate, even if it was offered, and wore an evil grin that my colleagues remarked upon. When Jay returned, she casually picked up the bag as if it were her shopping, offered chocolate to everyone, and walked out the door with it. Gotcha. The next morning, I arrived for my shift wearing the most serious expression possible as I approached Travis. I suggested, "You should review the footage from the back door at approximately 10:21 p.m. I believe you will find it quite enlightening." He requested further clarification, so I glanced toward where Jay was sitting, not even 5 meters away, and then back at Travis, stating, "I cannot provide any more details right now, but I strongly recommend that you check the camera footage from that time period immediately." Reluctantly, Travis walked off to do just that, and within 10 minutes, Jay was summoned into the office where her bag was searched. Within the hour, she was suspended pending an investigation, and by the end of the week, she was fired and barred from the store. I received a full apology from the managers who had doubted me. They explained that they genuinely believed I was guilty and had no inkling that Jay could possibly be a thief. Their jaws dropped when I informed them that every staff member knew of her thievery but felt powerless to act on it. After they consulted with others to verify my account, I received another apology. 6 months later, I was offered training to become a team leader myself. I accepted but ultimately left for a white-collar position in a different company before completing my training. Summary: a team leader attempted to frame me for her own theft, So I dedicated the next 3 months to executing a solo sting operation to catch her stealing in a manner I could present to management as proof it was her.